Hi everyone, welcome back to the Puttering Penman. Today we're going to be doing a first look at the Kaweco Piston Sport AL. I previously did a review of the plastic cartridge converter Kaweco Sport many years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. This is a version made of aluminum. This is also in black, and the unique thing is previously, I think all of their modern Kaweco Sport pens are cartridge converters, and they've just now released this one with a piston fill mechanism. So I was curious about it, I bought it, and we will talk about the pen. I believe historically, I was listening to interviews with the CEO of Kaweco. He said historically, like the first or one of the early models from the 1920s of the Kaweco Sport was actually a piston filler. And so they finally, after a lot of research, were able to bring it back. One of the difficult things about making a metal body piston pen is that the ink can't actually touch the metal, otherwise the metal will corrode. So my understanding is what they did is they put a plastic sleeve inside the metal body, and you can see sort of this ink window here. And so that prevents the ink from touching the metal body. As you can see from the design, it's a lot like most Kaweco Sports. It's got the hexagonal cap, round body. It's a very small pocket pen, which we'll talk more about the size in a bit. It has a finial right here with the Kaweco name. This one actually comes with a clip, and the clip is built in. I believe you can unscrew this top part and take the cap out, but then when you screw it back in, there will be a little gap here. So really it's meant to have the clip. And I don't believe at this time, like, you can't buy the other type of clip that Kaweco sells. So on their regular cartridge converter sports, you can just put a clip that slides on. And I believe they have two styles. They have something that looks like this, which is like a little bit more old style, and they have a little bit more modern style. I don't believe that the modern style, that they sell like a modern style add-on at this point. They might in the future. So then you unscrew the cap. It's 1 3/4 turn. And you get this little pen. First off, let's just say unposted. I can use this unposted for like writing a word or doing a checkbox. I wouldn't, be writing a paragraph like this. It's pretty uncomfortable, but I could do it if I really needed to. So as you see, there's a nib. The nib looks a lot like the nib on the regular Kaweco Sports. It is a gold color, but it's a steel nib, and I got it in the fine. You can take a look right here. Looks a lot like the other Kaweco nibs, as best as I can recall. This nib unit is unscrewable, so you can unscrew the nib and feed out together. And then you can actually purchase like the nib unit. I believe it's like $17 or $18. And so like I bought a fine. If I wanted to switch to a broad, like I could buy a broad and then switch to it. I'm not going to unscrew the nib and feed right now. I may do it in another video later, because this pen is inked right now, so I don't want to get ink everywhere right before I'm going to show you guys how the pen writes. The back here, this is something that's different from the cartridge converter sport. The back here is actually a blind cap, and this is the piston mechanism. You can see here also has the Kaweco logo, and then so you just turn this way and the piston will go down, turn this way, piston will go back up, and you can, when you have the nib in the bottle of ink, the ink will come back up. I will say that this piston works really well. It only takes me, maybe two times going down and going back up to get a fairly good fill of ink, like an almost full fill of ink in the body. I didn't do an exact measurement, but I believe I believe this pen holds about 1 milliliter of ink when it's completely filled, which is a pretty good capacity, especially for a pen this small. I believe that the converter that Kaweco sells for their cartridge converter pen holds a lot less, like less than half a milliliter of ink. I think their cartridge holds something like around half a milliliter of ink. So you're getting a lot bigger ink capacity here. I will also say this pen cleans pretty easily. I did change inks in it once. I didn't have much of an issue like cleaning the ink out. Using the piston mechanism is great. And then also because the nib unit is removable, you could like take the nib unit out and flush some water in there. I didn't do that, but like you could if something really got messy. One thing, I don't have many metal pens. One thing is that you can hear when capping and uncapping this pen, it sounds like the metal of the body and the metal of the cap actually touch each other. That sound makes me a little nervous that like over time they're gonna scratch, and like the black coating on it will wear off. You know, I mean, now that the pen is new, that kind of bothers me, but you know, over time it'll become like my pen, I guess, if that happens. I'm not saying it will happen. It just sounds like something that might happen. And that actually also, same sound happens when I post it. You can see that the pen posts very deeply, posts very securely. The weight of the body and the cap are the same. I believe they're both around 10 grams. Initially, before I had this pen, I wasn't sure how much I liked that because I like pens where the weight is closer to my fingers. I don't like back-weighted pens. But because this pen is so short and because it posts so deeply, it's actually a well-balanced pen. So it does feel very comfortable in the hand. You can see how far it goes on my hand. Because the nib is small, I do find myself holding the pen back a little bit further. If I'm holding it closer to the nib, I can't quite comfortably get the nib on the paper, so I hold it back a little bit further. Another question some people have with this model compared to the plastic model is how this ink window is. So, you know, people who work on like manufacturing, things like that, you know, might worry about how they connected this plastic to the metal. I don't know exactly how it is and like how it's sealed. There definitely is, when you rub your finger over this top one, you can definitely feel a seam. This one feels, I believe there is a seam, just a slight seam, but it feels, for lack of a better word, seamless. It's very smooth there. This one's got a little bit more of a differentiation between it. I think it's going to hold up fine over time. I don't see any issues with it. And again, I'm guessing on the inside they probably have like a full plastic sleeve. So like ink won't even touch this like outer piece of plastic or the metal. That's my guess. I don't know for sure. It would be interesting if somebody took apart this pen and saw it. But I'm not going to do it because I like writing with this pen and I don't want to ruin it. Okay, so let's do a quick size comparison for you guys. So here it is next to a Pilot Metropolitan. Here it is next to a Lamy Safari. And for pocket pen comparison, here it is next to a Pilot Prera. Let's quickly do unposted. So there it is, unposted. You can see the Kaweco Sport is the smallest. Quickly posted. So again, you can see Kaweco Sport is the smallest, even smaller than the Prera. Okay, now get these out of the way. And before we do the writing sample, just want to show you the box it came in. So it came in this, they do sell this pen with a bottle of ink. I opted, it's called the starter set, I think. I opted not to get the bottle of ink and I just got the pen itself. It comes in this box with this circular tin, very nice. It is metal, not sure what it is, tin, aluminum, very tight, okay. So the pen came in here, no plastic sleeve, I don't think. And then it came with a little booklet that is in German with the history of Kaweco and how to take care of the pen, and a little sticker. Interesting, it is nice packaging. You don't often get a metal tin, which is nice. Okay, now a quick writing sample. This is the fine nib, and it's steel. The ink is Pilot Iroshizuku Shinkai, which is a nice bluish, blackish, grayish ink. So I will say this pen doesn't have any like stub qualities. It doesn't really flex at all, but it is nice. Kaweco nibs tend to run dry in my experience. I think a lot of other people's experiences as well. So the Iroshizuku inks are a little wetter. Previously, I had a J. Urban red ink in here. I don't remember exactly which one. But I think this nib is actually wetter than I expect. It's not super wet. It's not like a pelican nib. But it's not dry either. I think it's actually like a pretty nice balance. This is a fine nib. It's actually very smooth, probably the smoothest fine nib I've used. I would call it a regular Western fine. I'll show you a comparison. So by contrast, this is a Pilot Kakuno, so this is a Pilot Steel fine and it's same nib and feed as on the Metropolitan. So if you have Metropolitan, then like a medium or a fine nib, like this might help you with the comparison. So as you can see, I would say that the Kaweco is just a hair wider, and the Pilot is just a hair finer. And just to give you a comparison, this is my Pilot Custom 743, which is a gold medium nib. But you can see that I would say the Pilot medium nib, especially the gold medium, is a hair wider than the fine. So I think the Kaweco fine is somewhere between like a Pilot fine nib and a Pilot medium nib, if that helps anybody who has a large collection of Pilot Metropolitans or Kakunos or Explorers, any of those. Unfortunately, my Lamy pens are not inked, so I can't show you guys who have a lot of Safaris the comparison here, but just off of memory, I think the Kaweco is probably the Kaweco fine nib is probably a little bit finer than the Lamy fine. One issue I have had, so this pen's very new to me, I haven't even had it a week yet. I have had issues with hard starting. You can see on this K, it did hard start. It eventually picked up the ink flow and got wider as we got toward the end of that line. At one point, it did just stop writing completely when I had that J-Bond red ink in it. So I had to flush out the pen. I cleaned it out, and that's why I put in this Pilot Shizuku Shinkai, because it's a little bit of a wetter ink. I think it's probably manufacturing oils. It might also be like I might have touched the nib with my hand, which got my hand oils on it, affecting the ink. I think it's something like that. I don't think it's an issue with the nib and feed. I think it's just some manufacturing oils or something. And as I clean the pen out, it will resolve itself better. I will, I'll certainly make more videos somewhat featuring this pen, and I'll have an update then. But I don't really have any concerns. I think it's going to be just fine in the long run. Yep, there it is drying out again as I had it open. There it is. So yeah, the ink flow is really nice. It's a nice, smooth, fine nib. I think one of the things in particular that I like about this nib is, even though it is smooth, I feel like I have a good amount of control on it. Sometimes you get a smooth nib and it's just like slides across the page so fast you feel like you can't control it. I actually feel like this is a really good nib where it feels fine, but I also have control on the page. I also think the nib, it works well on Rhodia paper, which is fountain pen friendly. It works pretty well on like copy paper as well. There is like some feathering, but I think like you could get by if like you were at a conference or you were at school and like you just got some cheap paper that you needed to write on. I think it would probably do fine by most fountain pen user standards. So with that, that's the first look of the Kaweco Piston Sport AL. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave comments down below and I'll do my best to answer what I can. And I will see you next time. Bye.